Now then, this is a driver's side drive shaft off a Mark II Honda CRV. There's been a bit of sort of funny little vibratory groaning noises coming from the transmission, especially as it's cold. Sometimes when it gets well warm it doesn't happen, other times it does, and it's a bit weird. Anyway, I thought it might be these inner CV joints or something like that. The outer ones feel great, the inner ones are a bit weird. Yeah, and I did take the wishbone off this particular side to replace the boot on the steering knuckle, and I'm just thinking, I only undid the outer side, I didn't remove all the bushes. I'm just thinking there could have been something going adrift with this, so I've decided to take this out, which wasn't too bad actually, but there's a couple of tricks, and I just thought, right, let's have it apart. I've marked there and I've marked the shaft there, so when this goes back together it's in the same place. Okay, so let's just have this apart. I've taken the silver band off that holds it together. Yeah, so that holds the boot on, so that's just there. Well, there's plenty of lube in there, isn't there? You see these 3 tracks. Let me put that down somewhere. And then there are these 3 rollers. So we'll take that one off. That shaft is curved like that, so that the bearing can do that. And it is actually a bearing. Yeah. So, but I assume that it will spin on the shaft more than the bearing, but there's plenty of lube, so I'm not entirely sure. But then you see it's spinning like this, so unless this is at an angle it will all stay relatively still. Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with those. Yeah, and that's all one piece. You can't see that. That is all one piece. But I assume why they have a bearing there, unless that is squeezed in like that. Don't know. Anybody with any experience about these, I would be very interested in what you have to say. Now, I'm going to put it back together. There is plenty of lube in here, so I don't think we need to put any more in. And we just have to make sure those 3 go in and they're in line. They are in line. So I suppose a cable tie round that would do, because I'm going to have a go at putting this back on. This is the retaining band, but you have to get that right over there to there, right? And no doubt there's a special tool for doing this, but how do you grip hold of anything? Yeah, so I'm going to have a go off camera, and if I come up with a trick then I will let you know. Maybe if you bend that one up and then use a pair of snipe nose pliers or needle nose pliers on there and pull it all the way like that. But I don't know, I've never done this sort of thing before, never had to. and it looks like I didn't really need to take this apart. So I'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, I've done it. Now that bit there slides inside there, so I put all this lot together and then squeezed and pushed that through into there to the point where this slot on the end went over that hook. Okay, that is a bit of a, but you can just about do it with fairly sharp cutters that hold on there, and see what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm pleased about that. I will just make sure everything's secure, and then we're ready to put this back in. So I don't propose to go through all the rigmarole, because you've got to put the shaft in, and this side, on the driver's side, it goes up against the support bearing, and here it is in place. Right, there's the support bearing, and there's the shaft that goes into the gearbox. So that's that joint, and there's the wheel. So I found one of the problems was trying to line this up with the shaft. So effectively it's a two-person job. You need somebody to hold this and line it up with the splines, and then somebody else to tap the end of the shaft to tap this onto that spline shaft that's in just there. So that just goes on the splines. I'll put a bit of lube on everything before I put it back, and then of course, you know, the other end, which is the drive shaft end, which just spin round, that end there with the thread has to go through the hub. And then once you've got that in, then you can lift this whole wheel assembly and get the bottom joint in. But one interesting thing here is, and it's very useful, that's the anti-roll bar link, okay, and it came apart dead easy, right? And there's a reason why it came apart dead easy, and I shall just put these down on this cushion, and we can see. We might be able to see on, oh yes we can, there we go. When they were put on last time, the threads were greased, the nut was put on tight, and then a piece of that nylon braided hose with a load of grease was put on the thread. Yeah, and so when I wanted to undo this, I just popped that nylon bit of pipe off, and all the threads were clean and not rusty like that. So let me just see if I can do some, there we go, and then in again. Hopefully you're not feeling sick. There's the nut, and there's the bit of braided hose or pipe that kept all the rust and muck off those threads, and it came apart remarkably easily. So again, when you're putting stuff back together, lube everything up. Slightly crusty or rusty threads, wire brush them really well on the rotary wheel, make sure the nut goes on easily, and grease it up before you put it back together. It sort of reminds me of a story. I might have told you this before, but you're going to hear it again. Donkeys years ago I had a Morris Minor, and we were building the house, and somebody else borrowed the Morris Minor van for a few days, and the dynamo stopped working. Of course they hadn't got a clue, and they flattened the battery a couple of times, but when they brought it back, yeah, between them turning up and putting the kettle on and making a pot of tea, I'd had the dynamo off, changed the brushes and put it back together, and then the tea was ready. And the reason why I did that was because everything had been greased. When it was apart last time, it was all wire brushed up, greased. I know what the right spanners, the screws were all right, job done. So, you know, it might not be you who's the next man, but there's a good chance it will be. So grease everything up before you put it back together. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, we're going to put this lot back together, get this drive shaft in. I'm now starting to think that this rumbling noise is not the drive shaft, and this is what they call a dual pump system. So the four-wheel drive comes in when there's a difference in revs between the back and the front axles or wheels, and the lube in the back axle is quite important. It's got to be the right stuff, and it wears out. And it could be that this rumbling is the fact that we're in four-wheel drive when we're driving along the road, which is not required. So the next thing is I'm going to have a look at that back axle dual pump fluid stuff, and I'll probably change that. So it's quite a hassle getting all this lot out and then realising actually it was pretty pointless. So I will catch up with you soon. Comments, anybody who's got experience about this, please comment. Yeah, and if you're into Hondas and stuff like that, please subscribe. And I will catch up with you real soon. Cheers for now.